Hi, moms and dads. Dr. Nicole here with another family friendly tech tip during this time of uncertainty around the world. Coronavirus certainly is impacting all of us as it pertains to work, to school, to managing our lives and our children. And now more than ever, parents are facing the challenges of how to help kids manage use of their electronic devices and digital media in safe and healthy ways. We're seeing dramatic increases in the amount of time that kids are spending online and on devices now, with being off from school, with having activities canceled, and pretty much being at home. And so this can raise new challenges then for parents around how to balance kids needing and wanting to connect with people, do learning online, all of those kinds of things, with spending time offline. And we know that that balance is so important for our children's physical health, for their mental health, for their social emotional well-being. And so we need to be figuring out ways that we can make this work for us and our kids right now. So I wanted to share a few tips that you may find helpful during this time. The first is to continue to focus on being a model for your children of healthy and appropriate device use. As adults, we're trying to find a new normal, many of us with working at home. So we're going to have the computer and things out. We need to be doing that, but we want to be intentional about setting aside times where we're not on devices, where we're engaging with our kids or with our family without those, going back to the basics of things like device-free dinners and meal times, when we're communicating and engaging with our kids, putting the devices down so they have our full attention. That model goes a long way for kids, especially during a time like this. Also, it's really important to keep basic rules and limits in place about device use and time spent online. And I know it can be really tough during this time to figure out, how am I going to occupy my kids? What are they going to be able to do? Kids complain of being bored. I totally understand as a parent that it can be easy to just default to device use to keep them busy. But we know that that is not healthy for them, and also that ultimately that makes our lives harder as parents, because when kids overuse devices throughout the day, they become more grumpy and irritable, more hyperactive and impulsive. Their behavior is not as good, and so as the day and the week goes on, we end up creating more challenges for ourselves by having them overuse devices. So we want to still have limits in place. Now, we need to be flexible around that. Kids may need to spend more time on devices now at home than they typically would, especially if they have online schooling that they need to participate in, or if you have apps for education or things like that that you want them doing. So certainly we need to stay flexible, but we want to adhere to some amount of time limit during the day so kids aren't endlessly using them. A good rule of thumb that I'm sharing with parents at my clinic and using myself at home is to make sure that kids are going back and forth between screen time and non-screen time activities. So they're not having extensive periods of time where they're sitting in front of screens, whether it's for fun things or for more academic or learning kinds of things. So this idea of doing a period of some screen time and then taking a break and doing off-screen kinds of activities, getting physical movement in, cooking and doing chores, craft activities, playing, whatever it might be that's age appropriate for them, going back and forth with those activities so they're not spending extensive periods of time on the devices. That will help mitigate those negative impacts of that. So taking breaks, making sure they're doing other activities, all of those things are great. I want to talk to you about how to make this as easy as possible for yourself as a parent, because certainly we are all under more stress right now. I really want to encourage you to use parental controls to your advantage here, to simplify this, especially if you have multiple children, multiple devices that are going on. I use personally and recommend to the families that I work with an app called Custodio. That is spelled Custodio, Custodio. It is an amazingly simple and effective tool that you can download and use on your kids' devices. You can manage their devices from your phone, from your computer, from whatever devices you're using. It makes it very simple to set time limits, content restrictions, specific limits on different apps and social media, all kinds of things that you as a parent can have control over to make sure that your children are using devices in the safe and healthy ways that you want them to. This is about health. It's also about safety. We know that now many unscrupulous companies and types of things online that promote content and things that are not appropriate for children. Those are cropping up even more right now because they know that kids are online, people are online, constantly using the internet more. So now is a time to really be vigilant about the safety of this. So using the parental control like Custodio allows us to set the different limits, set the requirements, set the content restrictions, but it's also easy to adjust those. So I just had a situation with my daughter where she got her learning things that she needed to have done early in the day. Her phone then turned on for her to use, and now she's got something that she wants to do with her dance studio online because that's closed, but she's got an opportunity to do something later. And so I can adjust the time limit a bit so that she can participate in that, no problem. And it took me just 3 seconds to go in there and do that. So it allows for flexibility, but it puts you in control of knowing how much time your kids are spending on different things, how they're using their time online. And ultimately, that's helpful because it makes it easier for us to manage, but it also allows us to have the ongoing discussion and communication with kids about their digital use habits, what they're doing, what they're seeing. And that's really what this is all about, is promoting skills in them to learn how to use these things in safe and healthy ways as they age. Custodio also just rolled out a Kids Custodio or Custodio Kids feature that allows us to have an option where kids can have the app where they can see what the limits and restrictions are, how much time they've used, really builds awareness for them of how much time they're spending on their devices, on certain apps, so that they can start to be more mindful about that and can start to monitor and self-manage those things. So the Custodio Kids feature is a new and wonderful option for us as parents partnering with our kids to monitor and manage this together. So I highly recommend that you check this out. And again, this just is a way to make this whole process around digital health and safety easier for us and for our kids. So I want to encourage you to keep talking with your kids about safe and healthy digital device use and online behavior, especially during this time when they are likely using devices more. Stay flexible as needed, but do set limits and monitor their use to avoid the negative effects of overuse and potentially dangerous situations that can occur online. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care of yourself and each other during this time, and I'll be back next time with some more family-friendly tech tips.